Hello. Um, Hello. Can you hear me? இங்க வரேன். உன் ஃபோன்ல பாரு எப்படி வருதான்னு. உன் ஃபோன்ல இது வருதான்னு பாரு. என்னோட ஃபேஸ்புக்கில் போய் பாரு. Hello. Is my audio audible? Let me check. No, it's there. Hello. Not sure if the audio is there. Okay, great. So my voice is audible. Okay, so let's get started. Hello, everybody. This is Ramakrishnan Selvaraj. So I'm from Bangalore, here, Karnataka State, India. So today we are going to have a overview of the crisis, what is going on, and some of the perspectives that I would like to talk about, which may not be very common. All right. So I have named it uncommon perspectives because that is what seems to be missing today. So the real problem that we are facing is the economic destruction which is going on across the world, and not really the coronavirus, which is purported to be the epidemic. Okay, so what we are going to do in this short presentation is here. So we are going to see what happened in Wuhan and what happened in Italy, and why people are saying it is all due to the 5G technology. All right, and then we will talk about viruses and exosomes and why they seems to be practically the same, and Koch's postulates, which is the golden standard for proving that a pathogen causes a disease, and how it is used in communicable diseases research. And then the testing, what kind of testing is being done for the coronavirus? Uh, then the treatment, what kind of treatment is being to those who have been identified as COVID-19 positive, and why it is a problem. Then the numbers, which is the most interesting part, because if you turn on the TV, they tell you all kind of numbers. So we are going to see what is real and what is not real. And especially I want to talk about this number 33, which seems to be all over the place. And then the vaccine, which is a big promise for people, so that this coronavirus gets treated, right? They want to prevent it with a vaccine. So I would like to give some perspectives on that. And then if time is there, I will also talk about the lockdown and the impact on economy. So this requires a separate session, because when we talk about economy, we need to understand a few basic things such as inflation, how the supply chain works, right? And how a whiplash effect on the supply chain really leads to uh, bringing down the entire economy over a long period of time. So I'm planning on a separate session for that. Okay, so for now, we will cover the above topics on the virus. Okay, so before we go further, I would like to like you to note a few points. The news you hear about coronavirus has a lot of fake news in it, and you know that media lies all the time, and either they lie outright or they twist the facts and they falsify the information. And then when you talk about healthcare, it is not healthcare at all. It is actually sick care. So when you get sick, you actually go to the doctor. If it is healthcare, then you should be paying for the period where you are kept healthy. For example, in ancient China, the king will continue paying the doctor money as long as he is healthy. The moment he becomes sick, the doctor stops getting his payment. So that is healthcare. So what we are having is sick care. All right. Third point is governments are not interested in your health. Okay, you are the only one who is interested in your health and your family. Governments are more interested in keeping things status quo, right? They don't want any disturbance from you. They want you to just pay your taxes and not to revolt for any purposes. When sufficient number of people revolt against something, they take action to either quell the revolt, or they go and take pacifying actions. So that is how the government works. Okay, so don't make the mistake of assuming that somehow the government machinery and the healthcare system in your country will take care of you. No, that is not. That has never happened ever, and won't happen either. Your health is in your hands. You have to really realize that. Okay, if you get injured by a vaccine, you really cannot sue vaccine companies at all. So I think it is around 1985. A law was passed in the United States saying that vaccine manufacturing companies enjoy complete immunity from any legal action from those who get affected by vaccines. All right. The same principle apply to most of the other countries which follow suit. So you have to be aware of that. The World Health Organization, which is driving this entire information about the pandemic across the world, is a private corporation. Okay, so from the very beginning, they are always focused on promoting vaccines and vaccinations across the world. So they are not interested in any kind of healthcare whatsoever. You own your body and not anybody else, not the government, not the state. All right. And mandating medicines in any form under any pretense, it violates the fundamental human rights, and it is against the constitution in pretty much all the countries. Okay, that you need to understand. When they say that due to coronavirus you have to be tested and you have to be vaccinated or you have to take certain medicines, then it is not a given that you have to do it. Okay, you have a choice always. That is part of the constitution. You need to understand that, and if required, you have the right to exercise that. So don't be afraid that somebody is going to come to your home and going to inject you. That is not how it is going to happen, right? So we will see more about this little in a little while. Okay, so coming to Wuhan, Wuhan is one of the most polluted cities in the world. Okay, so if you look at this photo, you can hardly see through the city atmosphere. the air is brown practically because of the heavy pollution. So, among the most polluted city in China, Wuhan ranks 14th, and the particulate matter per meter square it is at 88.7 on average, and 339 is the maximum particulate matter in the city, which is pretty high for any place where people live. Okay, so I have given the link over here. You can click it and go and look at it. And people have been agitating against these extreme pollutions in China, in Wuhan, and they are actually risking their lives because in the communist country, just like that, protesting against the government is extremely dangerous, right? You may be put into jail and the people may not see you after that at all. Even under such conditions, people in Wuhan have been protesting against this waste to energy power plant, which was coming up, which was supposed to be coming up on the periphery of the city, because the city was already extremely polluted. Um, there's nothing more anyone can really tolerate, right? So here you go. So you can read about this with this one. Okay, let me go back. So this is the non-vegetarian meat market in Wuhan. It's extremely unhygienic, and what do you say? It's really unhygienic conditions, and it's a huge market. It's not a small one. It's a massive market. All kinds of meat products are sold there. Okay, so also already people in Wuhan are very sick, and on top of that, Wuhan was chosen as the first city in China where they were piloting a large scale 5G. Okay, so let me go here. So Wuhan launches 5G. A consumer. Okay, where is this link? Okay, all right, I'll stick to this then. So basically, now that Wuhan as a pilot city to build 5G telecom has been approved, 3,000 macro base stations and 27,000 micro base stations will soon be constructed. Okay, so by 2020, 5G, okay, yeah, 5G network will cover every corner of the city and be available at an affordable price. So this was published in 2018, April 16th. And then this news came later. By end of 2019, Wuhan city, the capital of Hubei, is expected to have 10,000 5G base stations by the end of 2019, said Song Quizi, head of Hubei Provincial Communication Administration. So this has already happened. By end of 2019, 10,000 5G antennas have come up across the city, and most of the city has been covered with 5G. Okay, so you can go to this link, nperf.com. Yeah, so this gives you real-time information on 5G deployment, 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G, 4G plus, and 5G. So across the world, you can zoom into any city like this, and it will give you that this thing. Okay, so here is the Wuhan city. You can see that only 4.5G is shown. So since the epidemic broke out, they have completely stopped 5G in Wuhan. This is what I have seen in the news, and you can actually choose any other country, uh, right? Yeah, I was checking out Bangalore. You can choose any other country, and you can choose the mobile operator, and you can find out how much of 4G or 5G deployment is happening in your city. Okay. All right. So Italy is the same story. 5G was deployed earlier to the breakout of sickness. Okay. So if this diagram is quite an illustration. So on the left-hand side, this one shows these five cities are the places where the complete 5G deployments actually happened. Okay, and here is the another map which was published much later after the supposed epidemic broke out. These are the places where self isolation was enforced. It is practically the same places where 5G has been deployed. There are more detailed articles and media reports on this one. You can go ahead and research that. Okay. And people in Italy actually are very much aware of how harmful 5G is, and they have been protesting on individual basis, as small groups and highly organized uh, what do you say, groups. So you have this stop 5G awareness is the first line of defense, public health warning. So they have been protesting in across 200 provinces in Italy to stop 5G. So this protest has been going on, and if you are outside of Italy, very likely that you won't hear anything about it. So search engines won't give you these kind of links. So please click through these and then take a look at what people are actually saying and doing for 5G in Italy. Then you will understand the seriousness of how 5G affects people in every sense of that phrase. So, when you look at the seasonal death rates in Italy from 2017 to 2020, you can go to these sources, itialora.org, demo.estat.it. You can go there and change the language to English, and you can browse through the data. This is from your friend. Yes, picked up data from 2017 till 2020. So this is a seasonal flu. Sorry, this is the flu season, January, March, right? So every year between in this period, January, February, March, how many cases have been reported of flu? You can see the number of deaths in these periods, and deaths sorry, these are death statistics, yeah. So these are the deaths in Italy. So 2000 in every season over here, and per day is 2000. So the rate has not changed. The rate is in fact less in 2020. So fundamental question is, where is the epidemic? If there has been an epidemic in Italy, we should be seeing uh, much higher numbers over here in terms of the actual deaths that are happening. That is not really the case. Okay. Now, what is this big deal about 5G? Why 5G is being told it is harmful, right? So let us see some basics. There are two kinds of radiation we know of. One is ionizing radiation and non-ionizing radiation. So ionizing radiation is the one that comes out of X-rays and uranium. So, and those kind of radiations are in terahertz, and they are called ionizing radiation because it ionizes matter. And the EMF, the electromagnetic frequencies below terahertz, sub terahertz range, they are called non-ionizing radiation. In general, ionizing radiation is considered to be much more harmful than non-ionizing radiation. Okay, so your mobile, a regular mobile network and mobile signals operate at 500 megahertz to 2000 megahertz, and 4.5G and 5G frequencies operate at much higher frequencies, 2 gigahertz to 100 gigahertz. Okay, so as the frequency increases, the amount of power you can transmit in the signal also increases, and you can also pump more amount of information in the signal because of the frequency. So within a short time, you can pump out a lot more information using these higher frequencies. Okay, but the signal dissipates much quicker. So yeah, 5G, typical 5G tower has only maybe 50, 60 feet or maybe 100 feet. That is its typical range. So beyond that, the signal loses its strength, and you cannot practically use it. So another fact is that all EMF is bad for biological systems, whether it is ionizing radiation or non-ionizing radiation. All EMF is bad. There is abundant amount of research already available. So EMF has been in research for over at least 150 plus years. Okay, so today we have thousands and thousands of research papers where the ill effects of EMF for human beings as well as animal life have been really very well documented. Okay, and if you look at the regulations from FDA, FCC, they state that about 250 millivolt per meter, this is the maximum radiation, non-ionizing EMF radiation permissible to be safe. Beyond that, it is not safe. But if you look at any typical house in any city today, because of the ubiquitous mobile towers and other radiations going on, you will see that at least 100 to 1500 millivolts per meter is seen even inside the houses. For example, just outside my window, I was measuring over 2 volts, 2000 millivolts per meter. Okay, so these readings are measured by acoustimeters. You can buy acoustimeter from Amazon, but these meters are expensive. I think $300 or something. So if somebody has it, you can take it on a rent and measure the EMF in your home. So I will have a separate session on EMF basics and how you can protect against this EMF wherever you are. It doesn't matter whether you are covered with 5G antennas all around or you are somewhere in the forest. There is always EMF. So we'll talk about that at a later session. So let me quickly show you a bunch of research works on EMF so you can get an idea. Here, International EMF Seminar in China. This is a great document. They have put it out by the Chinese authorities. There's a massive number of papers over here. So I will put up these. These PDFs are available online, but I will put this up in Facebook so that you can browse through these things. And you have there is Power Watch. There is a summary paper from Power Watch that talks about 1670 peer-reviewed scientific papers on electromagnetic fields and biology or health. Okay, this is again a great compilation of research papers. And adverse effects of wireless radiation by Ronald K. Kostoff. So this is again a monograph. I mean, huge document, right? So let me see if I have that somewhere over here. Yeah, so if you see, he goes into, I mean, he is a compilation of huge number of research papers. I mean, he has put out a 649 page, this has, okay. So let me come back. Then neurological effects on non-ionizing magnetic electromagnetic fields. So here this is another compilation. Here the interesting part is the neurological effect E equal to 222 publications. 72% of the published research in between 2007 and 2014 on EMF have concluded that EMF is bad for biology, and only 28 papers say that there has been no effect. Okay, so that is a very significant number. If there has been no concern on non-ionizing radiation, we should be seeing the other way around. So it should be 28 for harmful and 72 for not so harmful, right? So but that's not the case. Even meta summaries like this is clearly saying that we have harmful effects of EMF. Okay, so every time in the historical perspective, every time a new radio technology was introduced, a new kind of disease or sickness broke out. In 2003, when 3G was introduced to the world, we have SARS outbreak, and then 2009 4G was introduced, and then we had a swine flu outbreak, and 2020 5G was introduced, and we have coronavirus outbreak. Okay, and this is not the case. This is not just happening now. So even from 1918 onwards, uh, when they introduced the radio waves for the very first time in the world, um, that is when your Spanish flu breakout happened. Okay, so at that point in time, there was no limitation or regulations on the amount of power that can be put out on radio frequencies. So people used to build huge antennas and pump out yeah, immense amount of power in radio waves, and that is when the Spanish flu outbreak happened. Okay, so that has been followed through the same kind of new radio technology is happening, and then the disease breakouts happening. That has been happening over the century. Um, we have to look this up further. Okay, so this is just a brief indication of the effects. Now, what is interesting about 5G is there are three frequencies: 24 gigahertz, 60 gigahertz, and 94 gigahertz. So these are called the resonance frequencies, meaning at 24 gigahertz, uh, uh, the wave resonates with water molecules, and the power gets transferred from the signal to the water. So the water molecules absorb the energy, and then they start vibrating and heating up, right? So it completely knocks off our ability to process water in efficient way. So you have all kind of problems. So you have your brain functions inhibited, your extreme mood swings, and your stomach goes into some kind of a problem, and so on and so forth. And then at 60 gigahertz, our body's ability to process oxygen goes for a toss, because it inhibits the red blood cells, the iron in the red blood cells actually, from absorbing the oxygen and using it for metabolic functions. So, because the oxygen is knocked off, the organ which is processing the oxygen, which is our lungs, they get into trouble. So you get into all kind of respiratory issues. Okay, so these harmful effects are known for a very long time. Even in 1960s 70s, it is well researched and well known. The CIA has declassified these documents recently. You can click on that and then explore it for further information. Okay, so in 1997, the Federal Communications Commission, the FCC, published this particular paper, Millimeter Wave Propagation Spectrum Management Implications. Okay, this is an extremely important paper which actually describes how these resonance frequencies affect water and oxygen. Here they talk about, as one would expect, the loss is highest around the 60 gigahertz oxygen absorption peak for all elevation angles. The resonances for frequencies below 100 gigahertz occur at 24 gigahertz for water vapor and 60 gigahertz for oxygen. Okay. Now this graph again shows the same thing. So this is a log chart. If you understand log chart, you can see, you can understand this chart. So this basically changes exponentially, right? 0, 1, 2, 1 to 10, and at 24 gigahertz you have attenuation happening uh, on H2O, and then at 60 the attenuation is happening at oxygen. So by attenuation, the power is transferred, the energy gets transferred from the signal to these molecules. When the material such as oxygen or water is present within the range of the signal, the material absorbs that energy, and then it is either converted to heat or some other kind of uh, effect on those materials, and then they behave very very differently. Okay, and this is a photo from Italy, and you can find all kinds of tons and tons of photos and videos on social media showing these kind of scenes where these birds die down right from the sky. They just fall dead from the sky, around places where 5G has been deployed. Okay, explore that. So, most of the sickness of this COVID 19 actually has been happening around places where 5G has been deployed. So, I like the Nicole Arbor's comment in social media. So, when are we going to stop pretending this is a random virus and admit 5G fried the Chinese immune system and mutated the flu? So, not only the Chinese immune system, this has been mutating, not mutating exactly, making people very sick across the world. Okay, so let us come to Koch's postulates, because when you say that a particular pathogen, such as a bacteria or a virus, actually causes some kind of a disease, then that has to be proven with great scientific precision and scientific rigor. Koch formed these postulates towards the end of the 19th century. So it's very simple and straightforward. Number one is the microorganism or the bacteria or a virus. It should be found in abundance in the organisms suffering from the disease. For example, if you are suffering from flu and somebody says it is because of a virus, flu virus, then we should be able to find that flu virus in abundance in your body, but you should not be able to find it in any other healthy human beings. Okay, that is the first principle. If this condition is not met, then you don't even have a point about that particular virus causing the flu. The second one is, once you have identified this virus or bacteria or microorganism, you should be able to extract it from the sick person and then purify it and yeah, get the organism out of it, and you should be able to grow that in a pure culture in the lab. So you should be able to multiply that millions of times and grow it in the culture. Then the cultured bacteria or virus, it should be put into a healthy person. Okay, and after some time, the healthy person must get that particular disease. Then you should be able to check the healthy person after he gets the disease and make sure that the microorganism has grown millions of times in the new host. And then you should be able to take it out and identify that and compare it with the original virus or bacteria. So if you are able to do all the four steps for a pathogen, then you prove that the pathogen was the cause of this particular sickness. Okay. So far, even over a century of research that has been done, there has been no scientific research work, paper written, or anything like that that shows any evidence of a virus causing diseases as per Koch's postulates. So, if you find any paper which proves this by the golden standard of Koch's postulates, please pass it on to me. I would be very interested to look at it. Right now, my stand is that there is no connection between any virus and the sickness. So the next natural question that comes is that then if virus is not causing the disease, why are people dying? Okay, so we will look at it as we move along. So on the right hand side, you can see this particular virus. Okay, so this round thing with spears around that. So this is supposed to be the COVID-19 virus. This was the electron micrography released by the Chinese authorities, and even WHO has approved this. So this is the thing they called as the virus. And then on the left hand side, you have the same structure which has been described by the scientific literature as exosomes. Okay, so exosomes are exactly the same as the virus indicated by uh, the COVID-19 researchers. There is no difference whatsoever. So even inside the cell, you have the same exosomes growing in a smaller manner, in a smaller size. Okay, so how do these exosomes happen? Is that when a cell is distressed, when a person is distressed, is under a lot of stress, then the cell uh, pushes out fragments of proteins and fragments of RNA. Sometimes the RNA gets wrapped up with some protein material, and the whole thing looks exactly like this. I mean, this is the same thing. That's what this is called, right? Exosomes. So these exosomes are inert. They have no self-moving capacity or self-growing capacity or dividing capacity. Nothing. These are inert materials uh, which just floats around in your body. They have certain protein locking sites on their surface, and they go and lock on the corresponding protein matching protein sites on other cells. So that is a very basic identity between exosome and viruses. There has been no distinguishing feature between a virus and an exosome so far. Okay, it has never been shown. Whenever you say a virus in the scientific literature, it is 100% same as an exosome. Okay, so this is the information put out by the researchers on COVID-19. You have diameter inside the cell. How big is exosome and how big is the COVID-19? It is the same 500 nanometers, right? Diameter outside 100 nanometers, and then the receptor site. This is a protein locking pattern. How the protein locking uh, site is, I mean, looks like. This is a technical name for that particular site. And then they both contain the RNA, and both are taken from the deep throat or lung areas. The fluid taken from this lung, that is what they are contained in. Okay, so there has been no difference. And here is a quote from Dr. James Hildreth. Okay, so he is the president and chief executive officer of Meharry Medical College. And he was a former professor of Hopkins University, the hospital. He says a virus is fully an exosome in every sense of the word. There is no difference between exosome and a virus. Not only him, there are a lot of people who say that. Okay, so if you find any paper which distinguishes between exosome and a virus, which describes it in scientific terms in good detail, you please pass it on to me. Now let us look at the PCR test. There is only one test for detecting any virus in the world. So that is the PCR test, polymerase chain reaction test, and it has over 80% false positive results. Meaning, if you identify 100, if you are identified as a COVID-19 positive case, then there is a 80% chance that you don't even have that particular virus in your body. Okay, so here is the paper. You can go and look at it. So this paper went viral ever since this epidemic started. And then after some time, I saw that this paper has been retracted, since I think there is no real reason why this paper should have been retracted. But I think the main reason is there are too many people beginning to read the actual science and then understanding what is really going on. But fortunately, the paper is still there. Otherwise, you will have to look at somebody who has mirrored it, downloaded it, and mirrored it. Okay. Now, let me see if PCR test. I have something more. Okay. So, how does the PCR test really work, right? Suppose you are trying to find a needle in a haystack. It is pretty much the same way you will have to work if you have to find the genome sequence of a virus in a general sequence of a full RNA or a full DNA sequence in the body, inside the cell. So what comes out in the exosome is really a small fragment of the full RNA sequence. Okay, so when you take this sequence and then try to find what whether it matches a known genome sequence that you already have, which you have qualified as the COVID-19 viral sequence, the sequence of the COVID-19 virus. Then this is how it is done. So they take the RNA fragment, and then they multiply it a million times, meaning they replicate it. Okay, the segment is replicated. It is not just magnified, not that one piece is magnified, but the piece is replicated millions of times, and then it produces another haystack, right? So that you can take a look at it. Then you take a look at it and see whether the newly created haystack, out of the single strand of hay taken from the earlier haystack, and see whether it looks like a haystack full of a needle. Okay, so if you find parts of needle in this haystack, and then you declare that, yeah, this particular haystack contains a needle. Okay, so that is the kind of thought process, and this is a very roughly the equivalent of the PCR test which goes on, and this is why it has such a very high rate of false positiveness. All right. Okay, so if you look at the symptoms of the coronavirus and the common cold, they are practically the same, nothing different. So you have runny nose, you have sore throat, you have dry cough, you have fever, and you have difficulty breathing. So that is your coronavirus disease, so called. And then your common cold, you have the same thing, right? You have nasal congestion, cough, then whole body pain, and you have sneezing, you have congestion, high fever, and that's it. So there is no difference. Symptoms of COVID-19 and the common cold, they are all the same. Okay. This is from the Mayo Clinic. You can look it up anywhere. It's the same symptoms anyway. Now, this is from the FDA government documentation on detecting the coronavirus, right? Detection of viral RNA may not indicate the presence of infectious virus, or that 2019 nCoV is the causative agent for clinical symptoms. This clearly says even you are COVID-19 positive, you are declared as COVID-19 positive, there is only a chance that you may have the infectious virus in your body. Okay. Then it also says this test cannot rule out diseases caused by other bacterial or viral pathogens. So what is going to be differentiating factor? Nothing. So the test cannot give you anything solid. Okay, it cannot even give you a confident, uh, what do you say, indicator. It can't even do that. Now, this is an interesting thing. If suppose you, this is an experiment of trivalent influenza vaccine. Okay, you take a large group of people, divide them into two parts. One is called the control group. The another one is called the treatment group. So for the control group, you don't give the vaccine. Okay, so instead you just give them water or something, and then for the treatment group, you actually give the trivalent influenza vaccine. After the vaccines and the placebo are given, you actually take their blood samples and then compare the results between these two groups. What is interesting is that among many other kind of bacteria and viruses that are going on, uh, in the treatment group, if you have taken the trivalent influenza vaccine, then you will test positive for coronavirus types NL63, HKU1, 229E, and OC43. Okay, so this is an extremely important research. So if you have taken a flu vaccine, especially trivalent flu vaccine in the recent time, your chances of testing for COVID-19 is extremely high. You should not even be testing yourself. Okay, you can go ahead and read this research paper in NCBI. Okay, that PubMed article numbers are given. You can go ahead and look at it. So the point is 2012, this study was published in 2012. It clearly states trivalent flu shot can cause positive detection of the coronavirus. The trivalent strains are in the quadrivalent flu shot highly pushed for the 2019 and 2020 flu season. All right. Okay. So here is the CDC documentation on COVID-19 RT-PCR test. Okay, here they say this: positive results are indicative of the presence of SARS-CoV RNA. Clinical correlation with the patient history and other diagnostic information is necessary to determine patient infection status. Meaning, if the PCR test comes out positive, you cannot make anything out of it. You cannot take that as an yes or no. Okay, you need to correlate that with your clinical, what do you say, patient history. Positive results do not rule out bacterial infection or co-infection with other viruses. The agent detected may not be the definite cause of disease. Again, practically it is saying uh, RT-PCR test is useless. That is what it really means in simple terms. You cannot say yes, you cannot say no, and then why? Why is the test even? Why are we even doing it? Even if you're doing it, the test is having an 80% false positive. Even after that, they are saying all of this. You can imagine what kind of testing it is. Okay, I hope you understand this point, right? First of all, you don't have a proper test. Whatever test you have is 80% false. Even with 80% false test, you cannot say whether you are getting sick because of that particular virus. And there is no proof that exists in the scientific literature which proves with scientific rigor that a particular virus actually causes any kind of disease or sickness. Okay, you please combine these simple facts and please have a conclusion on whether this epidemic is real or unreal. Okay, so let's come to the treatment of COVID-19. So this is where things are getting interesting. I want to quote Sir William Osler. He says, one of the first duties of the physician is to educate the masses not to take medicine, because pretty much medicines are not really the solution for your sickness. You need to really look into why you got sick in the first place. Most of the time, it is your lifestyle, it is the food. Food is the main thing, actually. So, probably we'll talk about that at a later session, maybe. If you eat junk food, and if you drink unclean water, and you live in a polluted environment, you will get sick. It's as simple as that. If you drink clean water, if you eat good food, full of vegetables and fruits and so on and so forth, and you live in a clean environment, have a positive mental makeup, then you are healthy. None of these diseases are going to affect you that much. Okay. All right. With that, let's look at this chart. This shows the number of deaths in the United States. Some year, doesn't matter which year. So the first cause of deaths is heart disease. The second is cancer, and third one is the medical error. Okay, so this medical error includes the doctors giving you wrong prescriptions, or they perform a wrong surgery, uh, or the medicine that you are taking, even though that is supposed to be the right medicine, that they did not work out for in your particular case. Okay, so all of these are combined together in this medical error, and that is the third leading cause of death in United States. And not only there, in all other countries, it is practically the same phenomena happening. Okay, so this is extremely important. If because it gives you a perspective on other diseases, right? You look at the respiratory diseases, accidents, stroke, diabetes, influenza, and pneumonia. which is supposed to be where the COVID-19 is coming, right? That is way, way down the list. They are on the top 10. All right. Suicide. Okay. So, what is the treatment they are giving? So, most of the treatment is formed now either with hydroxychloroquine, Tamiflu, azithromycin, glycopyrrolate inhaler. So, these are the most commonly used uh, uh, treatments, medications that are given. Okay, so all of them are very toxic stuff. You should not be taking them very lightly, and you should not be taking them without prescription at all. You should not be doing that at all. Okay, so let's look at what Dr. Edsel Salvana says. Please don't take hydroxychloroquine plus azithromycin, because this is again a really serious toxic stuff. So both drugs affect the QT interval of your heart and can lead to arrhythmias and sudden death, especially if you are taking other medications or have a heart condition. Okay, that's what he says. Take a note of that. And here is two important research works, okay, which I could find on NCBI sites and drugbank.canada. So hydroxychloroquine is a very powerful immunosuppressant. Okay, it practically disables your immune system, and uh, it also causes severe hypoglycemia, meaning low sugar. So, if you are diabetic, you should not even think about taking HCQ at all. It doesn't matter whether you're a healthcare worker or a doctor or uh, a coronavirus positive case, or somebody who is very afraid that they will get coronavirus, so they want to take the medicine upfront. No, you have to. If you're diabetic, you have to stay far, far away from hydroxychloroquine. You can look at, you can click on these research works. You can go through it and understand what they are saying, because these are not media articles. Okay, so these are medical information. They cannot fool you around just like what media is doing to you. Okay, so please develop a habit of actually reading the research works, published research works out there. That is going to give you a pretty good information on all these medical things. Okay, and then, as I said, if HCQ is an immunosuppressant, right? It destroys your immune system. So that is why they give hydroxychloroquine when doing a heart transplant or any organ transplant. So when they do that to prevent the body from rejecting the newly inserted organ, they give HCQ so that the immune system is completely suppressed. So you are very, very vulnerable during that period. So now the Indian government has issued a notice for healthcare workers to take HCQ, and I'm sure this is happening across the world, United States and all other countries, where the health workers are supposed to be taking this. So they are going to be immunocompromised, and their immune system is going to be suppressed. So when they go into highly polluted environments, they can very easily pick up all kinds of problems, because the immune system is gone and they go into very toxic environments. So uh, at a time when their immune system is already down, when the fast track vaccines actually come, right? I'm sure it's going to come very soon. It is going to have, just like other vaccines, it is going to have heavy metal adjuvants and other toxic substances such as formaldehyde, foreign DNA, human fetal cell content, and so on and so forth. You have aluminium, mercury, and other things, very toxic stuff. And they are going to get these same health workers are going to receive these vaccines first, because the aim is to protect these health workers from the so-called COVID-19 infections, right? They are going to take it. But unfortunately, they are already immunocompromised. So what is the obvious consequence? They are going to get very, very sick. Okay, some of them may not make it actually, they may not make it through. Then we are going to say that, I mean, these healthcare workers are great heroes who have selflessly given up themselves for public service. Utter nonsense. My suggestion is this: don't even poison them to begin with. Okay, so please don't poison them. Okay, so how are these numbers looking like for this coronavirus? So he's Professor Walter Ricciardi, right? Yeah, he's a president of the Italian Civil Protection Service. He says, "I want you to remember, these people died with the coronavirus and not from the coronavirus. The same problem that we just saw some time back, because there is no proof. There can never be any proof of that." So here is a week over week statistical graph of pneumonia deaths. Okay, so deaths due to pneumonia in the United States week over week. So if you look at it, 2000 this data, each curve represents 1 year, 2013-14 onwards till 2019-20. So you can see that 2019-20, the number of pneumonia cases have nosedived. This it has never been this low in the entire history, recent history of pneumonia. Why? Because all those patients are being added into COVID-19 deaths. And Candace Owens puts it pretty pretty neatly. Apparently, doctors and nurses around the world are wondering why no one is dying from heart attacks and strokes anymore. Flu and pneumonia deaths also went off a cliff. Turns out everyone is only dying of coronavirus now. Gee, I wonder why. Yeah, I also wonder why. Okay, so not only that, the really funny part is that even if you test negative for COVID-19, assume that you have the COVID-19 virus. So that is what the doctors are, I mean, patients are told, the doctors are being told. You can see these articles are somewhat funny to read. I mean, tragic also at the very same time. And here is your National Vital Statistics System, NVSS, right? This is from the CDC.gov website. Here, this particular guideline was published on March 24th. Sorry. Yeah, March 24th, 2020. Okay. Should COVID-19 be reported on the death certificate only when they are with a confirmed test? COVID-19 should be reported on the death certificate for all descendants where the disease caused or is assumed to have caused or contributed to death. Then the death certificate must have COVID-19 as the cause of death. Okay, if this is not BS, I do not know what BS is. Okay, so here is the full death certificate form, and above that you can see the same instructions given by NVSS. Okay, you can go through it. I mean, you can find it in NVSS system. Okay, and then here is some more funny stuff. So according to the doctor in this particular video, Medicaid pays hospitals $13,000 per COVID diagnosis and $39,000 per COVID death. So the entire medical system is being incentivized to report all kind of deaths as COVID-19 deaths, and that is precisely what is happening. So here is a comment from one of the doctors I got. So if a physician calls in sick, presumed coronavirus, he gets paid full during his sick time. So imagine how many ER folks, emergency room folks, who are supposed to cut down hours as hospitals are empty, are calling in sick. Yeah, hospitals are practically empty. If you don't think that is the case, you please visit your local hospital. I have done that in Bangalore. These hospitals are practically empty. And all over the world, people have been uploading videos and photographs, visiting their hospitals and showing how empty these hospitals are. In fact, hashtag film your hospital is trending on Twitter. Okay, so here is another funny news. The Army Field Hospital for COVID 19 surge leaves Seattle after 9 days. It never saw a patient. Okay, it never saw a single patient from the day it has been set up. Nothing, zero, zilch. Okay, 9 days. This news, you can take a look at it. And about this Italians dying, right? Lot of elders have been dying in Italy. Others are not dying. When you really deep dive into these cases, all these elders were initially just routinely tested, right? They come home to home and then they test it, or the elders go to the hospital for some kind of complaint. Obviously, most of them will go, and then they are routinely tested, and they were given the latest flu shots, which is the trivalent flu shots is one of them, and which have CV false positive as a side effect listed in the vaccine insert itself. Nobody ever reads the vaccine insert. Okay, so including the doctors. Please ask the doctors what are the contents of a vaccine, what are the side effects. They most of them don't know. Okay, so for these latest flu shots, coronavirus false positive is not false positive. I mean, coronavirus being, if you take those flu shots, you will test positive for coronavirus. That is mentioned in the vaccine insert itself. Then, once after they receive this flu vaccine, they are again tested and declared as COVID 19 positive. And then they get isolated immediately, and they are put under very stressful wards and hospitals, and they are given the same toxic concoction of medications which we just saw a little time back, and most did not survive past a few weeks. This is still going on. So my friend's students street, um, she was saying that practically no elder is actually left living. So people forget history very fast. So I just want to take one look at the, yeah, H1N1, right? The swine flu outbreak. One investigative British journalist called Cheryl Atkinson discovered that CDC has stopped recording swine flu deaths in America while it was at its peak. The epidemic was supposed to be at its peak in United States, but CDC has stopped recording the swine flu deaths. Why? Because the tests from all over the country were coming out negative. Okay, hospitals are reporting that tests are negative and nobody's dying of swine flu anywhere anymore at all. And then she published it on her blog, but the newspaper and news media outlet, CBSC, refused to publish it. Instead, they shut it down. The entire news was shut down. And then, after 3 weeks later, WebMD, which is the link to go to for medical information on the net, webmd.com, it publishes an article saying that there were 22 million H1N1 cases in America. Okay. And here is a link from John Rappaport talking about the whole episode. Okay, you can start looking at it from 24 minutes. Now, I just want you to draw your attention to this number 33, because it is popping up all over all over the place, everywhere. It is like a signature, right? Here is one news that says China lockdown spreads to 33 million people as coronavirus death toll rises. Sri Lanka flies out 33 citizens from coronavirus epicenter. Coronavirus outbreak, 33 people coming to Nagaland. You have 33 suspected of coronavirus remain at hospital, Kazakh minister. You have coronavirus 33 infected from one place in Tianjin. Pakistan among 33 countries that provided medical supplies. Okay, please bear with me because I want to really drive home the point. European Union sees 33 coronavirus cases. You have inside lungs of a coronavirus victim. Shocking X-rays show effects that killer virus had on 33-year-old's vital organs. You have Lululemon forced to close 33 stores in China. 33-year-old doctor who raised alarm on coronavirus dies. Thailand reports new case of coronavirus. Total now at 33. We have why the number of coronavirus cases in China surged by more than 33% in one day. Okay, Singapore raises risk alert to SARS level as coronavirus cases rise to 33. Bahrain, total up to 33. Boston health officials monitoring 33 people. Government news on details 33 California coronavirus cases. Okay, California monitoring 8,600 people, 33 have tested positive. Bill Gates calls on United States to lead fight against a pandemic that could kill 33 million. And then pandemic could kill spread of 33 million, may die in the first 6 months. Bill Gates again predicts 33 million. Okay, so what is this number 33? It is the number of Freemasons group. Okay, you can see the gathering of Freemasons over here, and you can see the number 33. So Freemasons is a society. It is no longer a secret society. They are all over the place. They command uh, wealth across the world. They are the most of the wealthy people. The most wealthy people are part of this Freemason society. Okay. I just want to say this. You can go ahead and research about Freemasonry and what they are up to. But I want to say this from Noam Chomsky. I don't know what word in the English language, I can't really find one, applies to people who are willing to sacrifice the literal existence of organized human life so they can put a few more dollars into their highly stuffed pockets. The word evil doesn't even begin to approach it. Okay, so these are the words of wisdom from Noam Chomsky. Actually, it is my entire master's thesis was built on basis of his landmark research on languages. Okay, so let's look at the vaccine, right, which is coming very soon. So, even if you subscribed to the mainstream narrative of COVID 19 to be a very serious virus, okay, it is still one of many coronaviruses. And this entire coronavirus is nothing but common cold viruses. That is what they say, right? Then, despite a century of research, there has been no vaccine made for common cold. Never happened. I still remember when I was in school and college, there is always some article or the other that keeps popping up. Researchers are very close to developing a vaccine for common cold, they say. And then immediately they will end it with saying the common cold viruses keep mutating, so it becomes very difficult to actually find a vaccine. That is what they will end it with. I have myself read so many articles of such nature. Okay. Now, suddenly, all of a sudden, how can you come up with a COVID 19 vaccine in a few weeks? So, what happened what did not happen uh, with a century worth of research across the world? One or two companies suddenly comes up with a vaccine in a few weeks for COVID 19. Doesn't fit the common sense. If there is no proper treatment exists for coronavirus now, okay, it doesn't exist by common mainstream scientific consensus. They say that there is no treatment for coronavirus except the toxic concoctions they have been treating people with. So they say that there is no proper treatment, so nobody knows how to cure it at all. But somehow someone is able to make a vaccine, right? Usually you come up you work start working on a vaccine, a company starts working on a vaccine when uh, a medicine has been shown to cure the disease. Okay, so they analyze the chemistry, they analyze the biology, they analyze how it actually works, and then with that knowledge, they go into vaccine research. That is how the normal routine vaccine research actually happens. But then, when you do not even know how to cure a particular disease, how can you even start making a vaccine? And not only that, it is expected to work off the bat when you actually deploy it. How is that even possible? And uh, across the world, they are already using antibody test to test for coronavirus. But if you really go to the WHO site, they clearly mentioned this was as of 8th April. So I don't know whether the situation, whether WHO has changed its mind or not. So, but on 8th of April, they clearly say that at present, based on current evidence, WHO recommends the use of these new point of care immunodiagnostic tests only in research settings. They should not be used in any other setting, including for clinical decision making, until evidence is supporting use for specific indications is available. So all these guidance have been thrown to the wind, and the people are using antibody tests. Okay, so if you have the antibody, then they declare you as COVID-19 positive, right? But to check whether a vaccine is actually working, blood sample is taken from the human and it is tested for antibodies. If the antibodies are actually present, then you are considered to have gained immunity against the disease. Essentially, they declare that the vaccine is working because it has come into your body and your body is able to produce the antibodies, and hence your body has gained immunity against that particular disease. But then, in the COVID 19 case, it is the other way around. If you find the antibody in the body, then you are supposed to be COVID 19 positive, right? If you have the antibody, then you are already immune to it as per the vaccine testing standards which are being going on. Now, why are we reversing it now? In what way is this reversal meaningful, right? And if you have the antibody, then why are you in danger of this COVID-19 then? So you have a problem there. So uh, should I really get coronavirus vaccine? Answer is no. Okay, it should not be. Doesn't matter which color this circle is. Blue is also no, but it is in blue, and red is in hell no. I really liked this particular graph. Okay, you have to again realize that Center for Disease Control (CDC) and World Health Organization (WHO) are private organizations. They are not public bodies at all. They are funded by individuals and corporates. Okay, CDC as a private company, it makes a lot of money, tons of money from many vaccine patents it holds. The pharma industry pays them royalty on those patents because they manufacture vaccines and sell it to millions of people across the world, and CDC takes that money. And these are the funding sources from for CDC: Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Pfizer, PepsiCo, Walt Disney, Siemens USA. These are all for-profit organizations. They have no interest whatsoever in public health. They are more interested in generating profit for themselves. All right. So if you somehow think Center for Disease Control is interested in making sure you are healthy, I'm sorry to break that delusion. Please go and do your research. And here is the chart for WHO, the World Health Organization, right? The first contributor is United States. It is contributing a whole lot, right? And nearly 4 billion, 4 million, I'm not sure what it is. But then the second one is Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Okay. And the fourth one, Gavi Alliance. This is also owned by Bill Gates. This is Bill Gates' company, vaccine company. Okay, so WHO is pretty much driven by Bill Gates and his allies, and they have been pushing the vaccine agenda for a very long time. Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation came to India. They conducted a lot of vaccine trials in India, and many women and children actually died. So the Indian government kicked them out of the country, but they came back again after several months. They came back again, and they are fine in India now. They are there in India now. Here you go. So this is India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi, along with our friend Bill Gates, and this the trophy they are handing, they are having in their hands is Agenda 21's symbol. Okay, you should really go and research about Agenda 21. Um, in a nutshell, Agenda 21 aims to grow smart cities all over the world. Okay, people should leave the rural areas and come and mass into smart cities, and then all the agricultural land and the rural resources will be owned by the government. Eventually they will be taken over by the government, because they clearly state that people are incapable of taking care of the environment and incapable of managing natural resources in the most efficient way. So the government will be taking over pretty much everything, and then everybody will be pulled into the smart cities, where you are completely dependent become dependent on the supply chain, again managed by the government. Okay, please research all these things. Yeah, that is pretty much all I have right now. So please don't be afraid of what doesn't even exist by any stretch of imagination, as per the scientific literature and scientific information already available. So please go through the links I have given you, understand the implications of what you are seeing today. All right, don't be afraid. There is nothing to be afraid of. Yeah, I would like to report some people not living in fear. Please be one. All right. Here are some people you may want to go and read up or watch their videos on YouTube. Many of the videos are now gone. Okay, you may find them in other sources, such as library or BitChute and so on. So please go watch them. And David Icke's explosive interview with the London Real, you have to watch it. It's amazing stuff. So you can watch Globebusters, Amazing Police. So one thing I did not mention over here is Johan Tengra's channel, um, Anarchy for Freedom, AFF. It is there on YouTube. He keeps posting it on Facebook also. Please go and watch it. He gives excellent summary of all these things. Okay. Yeah. Fear has two meanings. Either you forget everything and run, or you face everything and rise. The choice is yours. So I would like to end this with this hashtag, end the lockdown. That is the most meaningful thing to do for a world population of self-respecting, intelligent, and aware human beings. All right. So thank you very much. We will meet in the next session.